Chapter 43:15. After bidding farewell to Wu Wenfeng, DeVos immediately consumed the antidote. He only felt relieved when he realized that the green color on his wrist had disappeared. My life is finally not in danger. DeVos heaved a sigh of relief. He recalled everything that had happened. Fortunately, he had brought the antidote back. Otherwise, he would have had to accompany Di Wentao. However, after the poison was detoxified, Di Wuze remembered Bailey Hongzhuang's arrogant expression before, and his face suddenly became gloomy. Bailey Hongzhuang is still so arrogant in front of Wu Wenfeng. She's really unreasonable. Di Sudong's face was so dark that it could drip water. 150,000 spirit stones. She really dared to ask for it. Second uncle, we definitely can't give her so many spirit stones, DeVos said unwillingly. She's so detestable. Won't she be even more arrogant with these spirit stones? Of course we can't let her get away with it. Di Sudong's face was sinister. We'll give her the spirit stones, but it depends on whether she's alive to use them. Upon hearing Di Sudong's words, DeVos could not help but be stunned. Then, he asked curiously, Second uncle, what do you mean by that? You'll find out soon enough. The next day, the news that the Di family had submitted to Bailey Hongzhuang spread, causing an uproar in the entire Blazing Flame sect. 100,000 spirit stones, that was something everyone dreamed of. But Bailey Hongzhuang was able to get it so easily. Everyone couldn't help but be envious. When Bailey Hongzhuang woke up, she realized that many cultivators were smiling at her. This was a completely different situation from when she had just joined the Blazing Flame sect. Wife, you're very popular in the Blazing Flame sect. Di Beichen smiled. This situation was much better than when Bailey Hongzhuang was in the lower realm. Bailey Hongzhuang noticed the expressions of the people around her and couldn't help but smile. They should know about what happened yesterday, so they decided to express their goodwill to me. It wasn't like this a few days ago. The news about the Raging Flames sect spread pretty quickly. No matter what, this is a good sign. In my opinion, the Di family will not let this matter rest so easily. They will feel the pinch for 150,000 spirit stones. Now that they've fallen into my hands, they must be very unwilling. Bailey Hongzhuang looked carefree. Although she had not interacted with the Di family for a long time, she knew that they were not gentlemen based on what had happened during this period of time. Then let them come. The smile on Di Beichen's lips remained unchanged, but a storm was brewing in his eyes. If they still don't know what's good for them and come over, I'll make sure they don't return. Daring to cause trouble for his wife, he would definitely not let him off easily. It would be fine if they left just like that. However, if they came to cause trouble again, he would make them all accompany Di Wentao. In the next few days, Bailey Hongzhuang had a few carefree days. The Di family had quieted down and did not cause any trouble. More and more new disciples have come to report. Tomorrow is the new disciple assembly. You can take advantage of this opportunity to see the attributes you have awakened. Chapter 43:16. Upon hearing Wan Yanhan's words, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen smiled and nodded. However, when the two of them looked at each other, their gazes were somewhat complicated. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen had already discussed this issue. They both believed that Di Beichen would awaken the darkness attribute. After all, he had received the darkness inheritance and possessed the power of darkness. It was impossible for him not to awaken the darkness attribute. For Di Beichen, he did not feel that there was anything wrong with the darkness attribute. On the contrary, he felt that it was natural for him to awaken the darkness attribute. However, the darkness attribute was discriminated against in the upper realm. Once he awakened the darkness attribute in front of everyone, it would probably be a little troublesome. Wife, you don't have to worry about me. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's worried expression, Di Beichen could not help but comfort her. Actually, there's nothing wrong with the darkness attribute. I promised Master that I would change the way the cultivators in the upper realm view the power of darkness. If I still care about other people's opinions, how can I fulfill Master's request? Di Beichen was very calm. He did not care about everyone's strange gazes. Moreover, he was not the only one in the upper realm who had the darkness attribute. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. But this way, you'll have to bear some unnecessary pressure. It's okay. You didn't often bear such gazes and pressure in the past. If you don't mind, I'm your husband. Do you think I can't stand it? Di Baichen smiled faintly, but he held Bailey Hongzhuang's hand tightly. I know that no matter what, you'll always be by my side. To me, other people are no different from radishes and cabbages. Do you think I'll care about their gazes and opinions? Looking at Di Baichen's indifferent expression, especially after hearing the analogy of radishes and cabbages, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but chuckle. Radishes and cabbages. If those female disciples who adore you knew that they were radishes and cabbages in your eyes, they would probably die of anger, right? So what? Di Baichen spread out his hands. His eyes were affectionate and affectionate. In this world, except for you, my wife, all other women are like radishes and cabbages in my eyes. Baichen, why don't you not awaken here? Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Baichen worriedly. As long as they didn't awaken here, they could go somewhere else to secretly awaken. The situation might be better. Wife, don't worry. I'm fine. Di Baichen rubbed Bailey Hongzhuang's head with emotion. So what if everyone knows? That's what I wanted everyone to know. Actually, the situation isn't as bad as you think. It's been a long time since that incident. Many cultivators have already forgotten about it. The reason why everyone disdained the power of darkness was undoubtedly because the inheritance of the power of darkness had disappeared. It was very difficult to achieve anything in the power of darkness. However, this doesn't apply to me. I've already received the inheritance of the dark force and I have my ways to further improve myself. I believe that everyone will change their minds sooner or later. Bailey Hongzhuang stared at Di Baichen. After seeing that Di Baichen was not worried at all, she was relieved. Since you've decided to do this, I will definitely support you. Thank you, my wife. Chapter 43:17. Today, the awakening ceremony for the new disciples would be held here. Almost all the cultivators in the House of Flames would be there to watch the show. When Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen appeared, they immediately attracted the attention of all the cultivators present. The crowd saw a man and a woman dressed in white walking over gracefully. They were like a celestial couple from a painting. Their outstanding looks and otherworldly auras were enough to make one feel suffocated. When Di Baichen first appeared in the House of Flames, the crowd was already shocked by his appearance. He was like a piece of jade, and the young master was unparalleled. Such a suave and elegant young master directly refreshed the crowd's understanding of handsome men. Even though he already had Bailey Hongzhuang by his side, there were still many women who admired him and even took the initiative to express their goodwill. Although he was only a cultivator from the lower realm, the power he displayed that day was enough for everyone to be certain that he would obtain a good position in the upper realm in the future. However, Di Baichen seemed to have placed all his attention on Bailey Hongzhuang. Although many women expressed their goodwill, he did not pay any attention to them. At this moment, the person who attracted the most attention was the woman next to Di Baichen. The woman was dressed in a simple white gauze dress. Her graceful and slender figure was curvaceous, and her slender waist could not be held with one arm. As she walked, she swayed gracefully. When the crowd saw her face, many words quickly flashed across their minds, captivating the birds and alighting geese, overshadowing the moon and putting the flowers to shame. Her appearance was like a masterpiece carved by the heavens. Her skin was sparkling and translucent, and her facial features were exquisite beyond compare. Even when she did not smile, it was enough to make people forget their steps. Occasionally, she would smile at Di Baichen, making the crowd forget to breathe. Who is this woman? Isn't Di Baichen Bailey Hongzhuang's husband? Why is he walking so intimately with another woman? This woman's style of dressing is very similar to Bailey Hongzhuang. However, Bailey Hongzhuang does not have such outstanding looks. Everyone stared at the two people in a daze, their hearts filled with doubt. However, regardless of whether they were men or women, the cultivators present had the same thought. They hated that they could not separate the two of them. That way, they would have someone to pursue. Yi Haomiao was dumbfounded when he saw this. What's going on? How could Bewitching be with someone else? How can he face Miss Bailey like this? Although he also felt that there was a gap between Bailey Hongzhuang's appearance and Bewitching's, and the woman in front of him was obviously more compatible with Bewitching, but Bewitching was already Bailey Hongzhuang's husband. How could he do such a thing? Therefore, Yi Haomiao immediately stood up for Bailey Hongzhuang. Looking at Yi Haomiao's indignant look, Wan Yanhan couldn't help but smile. She's little junior sister. She's little junior sister? Yi Haomiao sneered. However, when he realized Wan Yanhan's words, his expression instantly changed. What did you say? This woman is Miss Bailey? That's right. Wan Yanhan nodded. For safety reasons, little junior sister is a newcomer. With her looks, I'm afraid that she'll cause a lot of trouble. Chapter 43:18. In the past, when Bailey Hongzhuang did what she did, he also agreed. Thinking back to the first time he saw Bailey Hongzhuang, he still remembered how he felt. No man would be able to restrain his heart from falling for such a peerless woman. Fortunately, Bewitching's strength was strong enough. In the Raging Flame Gate, there would be no problem protecting Bailey Hongzhuang. Don't you think this is good? Wan Yanhan raised his eyebrows. They look more compatible like this. I think no matter who the other party is, they wouldn't look as compatible as they do. After Yi Haomiao understood all this, he couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. His expression was extremely complicated. Previously, I thought that Miss Bailey didn't look too compatible with Bewitching in terms of appearance. Now it seems that I was overthinking. But you're right. They really look like a match made in heaven. There are so many cultivators here today. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the sea of people in front of her. The Raging Flame School was a very big force in Rong and city and had always had a large number of cultivators. But now that everyone had gathered together, she realized that the number was really shocking. Today's awakening ceremony for the new disciples is very important, so everyone rushed over. This situation is very normal. Bewitching smiled faintly. Soon, Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching walked over to Wan Yanhan and Yi Haomiao. Senior brother, Yi Haomiao, you're actually here earlier than us. As senior disciples, we're responsible for maintaining order today, so we came very early. Wan Yanhan smiled. I see. Bailey Hongzhuang understood. Wan Yanhan had always been valued by Wu Wenfeng. Otherwise, he wouldn't have given him the position of team leader. Almost all the new disciples are here. You should go in quickly. The awakening ceremony will begin soon. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching nodded slightly and walked into the group of new disciples. At this moment, the new disciples were standing in a rectangular formation. In front of them was a high platform. Obviously, this was where the leader and steward would appear later. As for the senior disciples who were watching, they were now at the outermost circle. Although they were only here to watch the show, everyone still maintained good order. When Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching walked into the group of new disciples, they immediately became the focus of the new disciples. These two are actually new disciples? I think many senior disciples know them. How can they be new disciples? This is really strange. I'm afraid these two are influential figures. They're not simple at all. Everyone looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a complicated expression. They had just reported in a few days, and there were still many things they didn't know about the Raging Flames Gate. They didn't expect that Bailey Hongzhuang had already been familiar with everything. Under such a comparison, everyone's feelings were naturally complicated. Not long after, with the appearance of a group of people, the bustling martial arts arena suddenly quieted down. A man in a purple robe walked at the front. He had an extraordinary bearing and a dignified appearance. He exuded a noble and imposing aura from head to toe. Wu Wenfeng and the rest walked behind the man respectfully and cautiously. Chapter 43:19. Several seats were placed on the high platform. The sect master arrived at the high platform and looked down at the group of young disciples. His eyes flickered with a satisfied light. Today is the awakening ceremony for the new disciples. It's also a welcoming ceremony for the new disciples. I'm very happy that you've chosen to join the Fiery Flames sect. From now on, this will be another home for you. Following the sect leader's words, all the cultivators present began to applaud. The Fiery Flames sect has always been fair in its rewards and punishments. Disciples who perform well will receive generous rewards, while disciples who make mistakes will definitely be punished. I hope that you'll abide by the Fiery Flames sect's rules. As long as you work hard in your cultivation, you'll definitely achieve great things in the future. The sect master's words were short, but he reminded everyone of the things that they needed to pay attention to. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen looked at each other. They were not unfamiliar with this statement. Wu Wenfeng's gaze also fell on Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen. When he saw Bailey Hongzhuang's face, his expression changed, and confusion appeared in the space between his brows. However, he quickly regained his composure. Clearly, he had suppressed his doubts. Clearly, now was not the time to ask about this. It would not be too late for him to ask after the awakening ceremony. Following the sect master's instructions, Wu Wenfeng walked to the front and spoke about some matters related to the new disciples. Only then did the sect master announce, "The awakening ceremony will now begin." Following the sect master's announcement, the atmosphere changed abruptly. Every new disciple's eyes flickered with anticipation and nervousness. This was undoubtedly an extremely complicated feeling. On one hand, they hoped that they would awaken a powerful attribute. On the other hand, they were worried that the attribute they awakened would not meet their expectations or that they would not be able to awaken it at all. Everyone was immersed in their dilemma. They discussed amongst themselves, worried about their own attributes. "Wife, what attribute do you think you'll awaken?" Di Beichen's lips hooked up in a charming smile, looking at Bailey Hongzhuang with a smile that wasn't a smile. "Everyone's so nervous, but you're not worried at all." Bailey Hongzhuang pursed her lips and couldn't help but shake her head and chuckle. "What do I have to worry about? Even a dark-type person like you isn't worried here. Even if I awaken the dark type, at most I'll be the same as you. I won't be too far off. My wife is really open-minded. If that's really the case, isn't that great? That way, we'll be husband and wife of the dark attribute. How compatible would that be?" Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up and she nodded. "That's not a bad idea. It would be great if we could all awaken the darkness attribute." If it was in the past, perhaps she would be a little worried because of this attribute, but now that Di Beichen was with her, she was not worried at all. Even if it was the worst-case scenario, so what? Along the way, had he not experienced many such things? As long as there was someone by her side, nothing else was scary. "I actually hope that my wife can awaken other attributes. I can't bear for my wife to be criticized by others." Di Beichen's eyes were filled with deep affection. He did not care about his own situation. The only thing he cared about was Bailey Hongzhuang. He did not wish for gossip to hurt Bailey Hongzhuang. That was something he could not accept. Chapter 43:20. According to Wan Yanhan and the others, some cultivators would have their own premonitions, such as which attribute they were closer to. However, this did not apply to Bailey Hongzhuang. She had never felt that she was particularly close to any attribute. "Then, do you have an attribute that you like?" "I do." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. "The darkness attribute." Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Di Beichen laughed involuntarily. He looked at her helplessly and said, "Then I'm even more excited to see what attribute you'll awaken next." Immediately after, Bailey Hongzhuang noticed that a huge crystal ball had appeared on the high platform. The white crystal ball was sparkling and translucent. Under the sunlight, it reflected a charming luster. It was overflowing with light and was very beautiful. This should be the instrument for awakening an attribute. Di Beichen stared at the crystal ball in front of him. His eyes were shining brightly. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. "When I was in the lower realm, I never heard of this. The upper realm and the lower realm are really very different. I hope that everyone can come to the upper realm in the future. The development here will always be better." Di Beichen's gaze was distant and deep. When he was in the lower realm, he thought that they were already a group of extremely outstanding people. Now, as his horizons were constantly broadening, his thoughts were constantly changing. Whether it was Bailey Hongzhuang's parents or master and mistress, they were all people with outstanding talent. If they came to the upper realm, their strength would definitely rise to another level. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. She also thought of her parents and family. Originally, I only planned to wait for your physique to change before going back. I didn't expect that so many unforeseen events would happen. Now, I don't know when I'll be able to go back. In fact, she knew that her family had always been thinking about them. Now that they had not gone back for so long, they must miss them very much. It was just that things had developed in the opposite direction. Given the current situation, she really did not know when she would be able to return. Noticing Bailey Hongzhuang's gloomy mood, Bewitching couldn't help but hold her hand and said, "Don't worry too much. Since Xiren knows that we are here, he will definitely help us pass the news back. I've been his brother for so many years, and he's always been reliable." Although the situation at that time was somewhat unexpected, he knew that we had come to the upper realm, so he would definitely take care of the follow-up. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Xiren and Yingying are indeed very reliable. Whether it was when Xiren or Shangguan Yingying, they were both smart people and had strong adaptability. Presumably, they would know what to do after they understood everything. "Don't worry, we will definitely be able to go back." Bewitching's eyes flashed with a resolute light. Although it was not easy to return from the upper realm, he firmly believed that they would be able to return. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Right now, she hoped that Ao Lingxiao would be able to come to the upper realm as soon as possible. As long as Ao Lingxiao met up with them, they would be able to find the D family. If Bewitching was really a member of the D family, then it would not be a problem for them to return to the lower realm. Right now, this was clearly the fastest way. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching were conversing, the first cultivator had already walked up the stage. Chapter 43-21. Hearing Steward Wu's words, the cultivator immediately nodded, then placed his hand on the crystal ball and fell into meditation. Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest focused their attention on the crystal ball. Until now, they still didn't know what the awakening process of the attribute looked like. As the man gradually channeled his elemental energy into the crystal ball, they realized that there were some changes in the crystal ball that had been calm all this while. Then, a bright flame appeared in the crystal ball. Bright flames danced in the transparent crystal ball, making it look very beautiful. "Fire attribute," Wu Wenfeng immediately announced. After the man who was awakening heard this, a joyful smile appeared on his face. The fire attribute was considered one of the most powerful attributes among the many attributes. Usually, cultivators who awakened this attribute would develop in the direction of destructive power in the future. If they encountered a cultivator with a weaker attribute, they would be completely crushed. Fire attribute level 5. Wu Wenfeng looked at the depth of the flame's color and determined its talent level in the fire attribute. "I heard that the attribute level is divided into 10 levels. Level 1 to 3 are ordinary, level 4 to 6 are intermediate, and level 7 is considered extremely powerful. Above level 7, every level means that the attribute talent is more powerful and the speed of cultivation will be much faster than cultivators of other levels." Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. She knew this from Wan Yanhan. In that case, level 5 isn't very outstanding, but it's still pretty good. Bewitching said slowly. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. "That's right. Look at that cultivator, isn't he very happy?" Looking in the direction that Bailey Hongzhuang pointed at, Bewitching saw that the cultivator had a joyful smile on his face and walked down the stage happily. Obviously, he was very satisfied with this result. Next, Wu Wenfeng called out the names of the cultivators who were awakening one after another. Water attribute. Water attribute level 3. After Bailey Hongzhuang's observation, she found that as long as a cultivator reached the middle level, they would be satisfied. On the other hand, cultivators with ordinary aptitudes would be disappointed. After all, this kind of level was really too low. It would be more difficult for him to achieve higher attributes in the future. Although cultivation was inseparable from hard work, talent was equally important. Even with the same amount of effort, high-level cultivators would be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort. Wind attribute, grade 7. When Wu Wenfeng identified one of the cultivators as a level 7 wind attribute cultivator, The crowd could not help but exclaim in surprise. Everyone looked at the man in surprise. There was no lack of envy in their eyes. He actually reached the 7th level of the wind element. How enviable! With such an innate attribute rank, no matter which power he joins, he'll be highly sought after. It goes without saying that he'll become an influential figure in the blazing sect. It's too difficult to have a cultivation talent above level 6. I'm afraid we don't have such good talent. While everyone was envious, they were also a little disappointed. They only hated that they didn't have such talent. Chapter 43-22. Since Wang Yanhan is valued so highly by Manager Wu, his talent shouldn't be bad. Di Beichen smiled faintly. If a practitioner from the lower realm wanted to get attention, he would have to put in more effort. Therefore, Wang Yanhan's level shouldn't be bad. On the contrary, he should be very outstanding. That's right. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Look, that level 7 wind attribute practitioner's name has been recorded. I'm afraid that his treatment in the future won't be the same as ordinary practitioners. The so-called fairness was only within a certain range. There was no absolute fairness in this world. Bailey Hongzhuang and Manager Wu were very clear about this point. Just like how everyone's cultivation talent was different, it was already unfair from the moment they were born. Di Beichen. After waiting for a while, it was finally Di Beichen's turn. Beichen. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned slightly, her expression filled with worry. Although Di Beichen kept saying that it didn't matter, she couldn't help but be worried. Once everyone knew that Di Beichen's talent attribute was darkness, they would probably look at him differently. Wife, don't worry. Di Beichen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a smile. After giving her a reassuring look, he walked up the stage. Don't think about anything. Just slowly channel your elemental energy into the crystal ball. Manager Wu smiled at Di Beichen. Ever since he knew that Di Beichen's strength could compete with Devao's, Wu Wenfeng was very optimistic about Di Beichen. Therefore, his attitude was more enthusiastic than ordinary practitioners. Thank you for your reminder, Manager Wu. Di Beichen then placed both his hands on the crystal ball. As his elemental energy gradually flowed out, an incomparably gloomy black energy appeared in the crystal ball. The originally sparkling and translucent crystal ball seemed to have been swallowed by darkness in an instant. The entire ball presented an extreme darkness, like ink, so thick that it could not be diluted. When Wu Wenfeng saw the black shadow appear, he felt as if someone was strangling him, making him unable to say a word. The entire martial arts stage fell into a deathly silence. Everyone stared blankly at the crystal ball that was filled with the darkness attribute. They stared at the tall white figure in disbelief. They couldn't connect Di Beichen to this dark power. Oh my God, am I seeing things? Did Di Beichen awaken the power of darkness? His dark energy seems to be very dense. Even the wind elemental cultivators who had reached the 7th level couldn't reach this level. Then how strong is his dark elemental power? This level has practically filled up the entire crystal ball. I'm afraid it has reached the highest level, right? Everyone discussed animatedly. Such a dense scene simply refreshed everyone's understanding. At this moment, Wu Wenfeng was completely dumbfounded. He never thought that Di Beichen would awaken the dark elemental power. Moreover, it seemed that the density of the dark elemental power was simply unheard of. After seeing this scene, the sect master's eyes couldn't help but freeze. When he looked at Di Beichen again, his expression became complicated. He's the practitioner you just recruited? Hearing the sect master's question, Wu Wenfeng quickly replied, yes, that's him. Chapter 43-23. His talent for cultivation is indeed very strong. The sect master nodded. Otherwise, there wouldn't be such a dense attribute level. It's a pity. If it wasn't for the dark attribute, he would definitely be a rare genius. Sect master, what exactly is his level? Wu Wenfeng couldn't help but look at the sect master. Even he had never seen such a dense attribute level, so he couldn't determine it for a moment. Maximum level. The sect master stared at Di Beichen in front of him. Even he had only heard of such a level in rumors. He didn't expect to see a real one in front of him. It wasn't until he saw it with his own eyes that he realized that all of this was actually true. A cultivator with a maximum level of attribute level really existed. Following the sect master's words, Wu Wenfeng and the others on the high platform couldn't help but be dumbfounded. When they looked at Bewitching again, their eyes were filled with shock. Maximum level. That was a legendary existence. It was said that a cultivator with a maximum level of talent could cultivate much faster than ordinary cultivators. Once such a cultivator appeared, they were all geniuses and left a deep mark in history. However, one actually appeared in front of them. At this moment, Wang Yanhan and Yi Haomiao were also staring at Di Beichen in a daze. They had never expected Di Beichen to have the dark attribute. How could this be? Yi Haomiao was dumbfounded. He had said before that no matter what attribute Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had, as long as it wasn't the dark attribute, there would be no problem. However, such a small probability actually happened. Di Beichen actually had the dark attribute. Di Beichen's dark attribute seems to be different from ordinary dark attributes. Look at the color, it's really too dense. Manager Wu and the others also have strange expressions. So what if his talent in the dark attribute is amazing? Don't forget that it's the dark attribute. Yi Haomiao couldn't help but remind them. Just the presence of the dark attribute here was already very bad. Below the high platform, Bailey Hongzhuang stared at Di Beichen's back. When the thick darkness appeared, she only felt that Di Beichen was shrouded in darkness. Master, Beichen's dark attribute is so dense. The wind attribute cultivator from before only filled the crystal ball with wind attribute energy, but Di Beichen has already filled the entire crystal ball. Xiao He looked surprised. Even if they didn't know much about the crystal ball, they could still see some clues. That's right. Look at Sect Master and Steward Wu's expressions. It's obvious that something isn't right. Is there something else other than what we're worried about? Xiaobai couldn't help but worry. Beichen has obtained the dark inheritance, so his attribute energy must be very strong. However, it's probably stronger than what everyone expected. That's why such a situation has occurred. Bailey Hongzhuang analyzed. After a moment of silence, Wu Wenfeng finally calmed down and slowly said, Di Beichen, dark attribute, max level. When the two words, max level, were heard, all the cultivators around the tournament stage sucked in a breath of cold air. Shocked and astonished gazes landed on Di Beichen. Not to mention the fact that the dark attribute was enough to attract everyone's attention, the fact that he had reached max level left everyone dumbfounded. Chapter 43-24. Cough cough. When Yi Haomiao heard this, he almost choked on his own saliva. Did I hear wrongly? It's actually the maximum level? Wang Yanhan also looked at Di Beichen in disbelief. He also thought that the highest level should be level 9, because the maximum level was an existence that everyone thought was impossible. Di Beichen is indeed an extraordinary person. I knew it from the first time I met him, but I didn't expect him to be so powerful. Wang Yanhan sighed inwardly. Such an achievement simply stunned everyone. It's a pity that it's the dark attribute. If it wasn't, then his future achievements would be unimaginable. Just as Di Beichen was about to withdraw his hands, something strange happened. To everyone's astonishment, a scorching white light suddenly appeared in the dark energy. Although this white light seemed very small compared to the darkness, it was extremely bright and could not be ignored. What's going on? Wu Wenfeng was once again dumbfounded. This situation was even more incomprehensible than when he saw Di Beichen's maximum level dark attribute. Di Beichen had already confirmed that it was the dark attribute. What was the meaning of this white light that suddenly appeared? At this moment, the sect master couldn't help but walk in front of Di Beichen. After carefully sensing the power in his body, he couldn't help but frown. Sect master, what is this white light? Wu Wenfeng lowered his voice and asked, This can't be the light attribute, right? Impossible. The sect master immediately denied Wu Wenfeng's guess. As everyone knows, the dark and light attribute are two completely opposite forces. It's impossible for them to merge. How could he awaken these two extreme powers? Hearing this, Wu Wenfeng hurriedly nodded because the situation was too strange, to the extent that he had even lost the most basic judgment. Indeed, this can't be the light attribute. Then, Sect Master, what do you think this white light is? Maybe it's impurities. The Sect Master slowly said, according to the records, when a person reaches the maximum level, it's very likely that some other inexplicable changes will occur. Perhaps this is one of those changes. Max level is simply too heaven-defying, so it's not surprising that there are some impurities. The other stewards couldn't help but nod their heads after hearing the Sect Master's judgment. Sect Master is right. It should be like this. While the Sect Master and the stewards were discussing, Bewitching was also staring at the crystal ball in front of him. He had a very magical feeling in his heart. He was certain that this black power was the power of darkness, and it was also the power that he had mastered after receiving the inheritance. However, before the awakening, these powers did not exist in such a manner. After the awakening, there was a change in the way they existed. However, he was also certain that this strand of white light was not the so-called impurities, but the energy of light. After awakening his attribute, he now had a better understanding of the attribute power that he did not understand before. He was also completely sure that this was the power of light. Isn't it said that every practitioner can only awaken one type of power? Bewitching thought to himself. How did I suddenly awaken two types of power? This doesn't make any sense. Is this so? Chapter 43-25. Bewitching had become the center of everyone's attention. Most importantly, even the Gate Master and the others could not figure out what was going on with Bewitching. Wu Wenfeng also could not figure out what was going on, so he could only conclude based on what the Gate Master said. Although Bewitching's awakened talent was the dark attribute, and it was very difficult for this attribute to develop in the upper realm, the fact that he had reached the maximum level was enough to prove that Bewitching was not simple. Maybe he would develop well in the future. Thinking of this, Wu Wenfeng remembered Bewitching's name. After Bewitching walked down the high platform, he returned to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. Bewitching, how are you? Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Bewitching with concern. Just from the reaction of the crowd just now, it was clear that the dark attribute was still discriminated against. Hearing this, Bewitching smiled faintly and shook his head. I'm fine, what can happen to me? Don't worry. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Although this attribute is not liked by everyone, your maximum level has shocked everyone. Not to mention the other cultivators, even she could not help but be surprised when she found out about this. She did not expect Bewitching's talent in the dark attribute to be so strong. In fact, after knowing this, she was not very worried. Other dark attribute cultivators could not develop well because they did not have the inheritance of the dark energy and did not know how to cultivate in the future. However, Bewitching was different. Long ago, Bewitching had already obtained the inheritance of the dark attribute. With this inheritance, coupled with Bewitching's cultivation talent, his future achievements were imaginable. Bailey Hongzhuang. Steward Wu's voice rang out once again, pulling everyone back from their shock. Wife, you can go up first. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly, then walked up the high platform under everyone's gaze. At this moment, everyone's curious gaze fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. Previously, Bewitching's results had already amazed everyone, but they did not know what kind of attribute Bailey Hongzhuang would awaken as Bewitching's wife. Do you think Bailey Hongzhuang will awaken the dark attribute like Bewitching? If that's the case, then it will be interesting. It shouldn't, right? The probability of Bewitching awakening such an attribute is very small. Even if they are husband and wife, their attributes should not be the same. Sigh, I didn't expect him to awaken to the dark attribute. In the future, his potential. Everyone shook their heads and sighed. They were originally envious of Bailey Hongzhuang, but now their moods had calmed down a bit. After all, in the upper realm, strength was the most important thing. Even if Bewitching's cultivation was very high, the dark attribute had already limited his future development. Everyone was sure that it would not be long before Bewitching was gradually overtaken by other cultivators, and he would still be at the bottom of the list. The only good thing was that he had a max-level talent, so perhaps he would not be overtaken by others too quickly. Chapter 43-26. What's your situation now? Wu Wenfeng looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in front of him and asked in a low voice. Looking at the faint dissatisfaction between Wu Wenfeng's eyebrows, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but smile and said, "Steward Wu, I was afraid that it would be troublesome, so I disguised myself. Now that Bewitching is here, I naturally don't need to continue the disguise. I didn't do it on purpose before, I hope you don't blame me." Originally, Wu Wenfeng was a little dissatisfied with the fact that he had been concealed from him, but after listening to the explanation and looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful face, his heart suddenly understood a little. With Bailey Hongzhuang's demonic appearance, she would indeed attract a lot of trouble. Even with Di Beichen by her side now, there were still many practitioners who had designs on her. If it was in the past, it would be even more so. Seeing that you have a reason, I'll let this matter go. Wu Wenfeng sighed. "Thank you, Steward Wu." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled playfully. "I know that Steward Wu is the most magnanimous person. Let's test it first." Wu Wenfeng looked at Bailey Hongzhuang helplessly. If it was on a normal day, he would definitely be very dissatisfied with practitioners causing trouble time and time again. The strange thing was that when these things happened to Bailey Hongzhuang, he did not have such a feeling. On the contrary, he felt that Bailey Hongzhuang was very lively and cute, so he was more tolerant of her. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded and immediately placed both hands on the crystal ball. As the elemental energy in her body gradually surged, Bailey Hongzhuang's mind was also filled with hope that she could awaken the dark attribute. Everyone despised the dark attribute, but she did not care at all. On the contrary, because Di Beichen had the dark attribute, she was very fond of it. After Bailey Hongzhuang's talent was awakened, the practitioners present could not help but exclaim in surprise. Bailey Hongzhuang opened her eyes and saw a dazzling light filling the entire crystal ball. This ray of light was incomparably sacred, pure, and bright. The originally transparent crystal ball suddenly became incomparably resplendent, illuminating everything around it. The cultivators who were closer to the light felt a wave of comfort wash over them. It was as if they had returned to their mother's embrace. It was safe and warm, and all their pores seemed to relax. Light attribute. Bailey Hongzhuang awakened the light attribute. What a rich power of light. It's so dazzling. This is the first time I've seen something like this. Bailey Hongzhuang, who was wearing a white gauze dress, looked like a goddess of light under the light. Her entire body exuded a soft luster, which made her delicate and perfect face look even more beautiful. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang, everyone couldn't help but feel a sense of worship. It was as if she was born to be sacred, honorable, and inviolable. Wu Wenfeng looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in astonishment, then his eyes shone brightly. Bailey Hongzhuang had really given him a huge surprise. Originally, after knowing that Bailey Hongzhuang was an inscription master, he felt very helpless about her insistence on becoming a practitioner. He only felt that Bailey Hongzhuang was not smart enough and did not know how to best develop herself. Chapter 43-27. The sect master, who had originally been very calm, could not help but stand up when he saw the light energy in the crystal ball. He walked slowly to the crystal ball and felt the extremely rich light energy. The light energy was equivalent to a gift from God in everyone's eyes. As long as one got close to it, they would feel as if their entire body and mind had received the essence. That kind of comfortable and peaceful energy was something that nothing else could give them. Even the sect master, who was very powerful, could not help but smile when he got close to this energy. The sect master's eyes flickered with excitement. When he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, his eyes were also dazzling. "Is she the inscription master that you recruited?" The sect master could not help but look at Wu Wenfeng and ask. Wu Wenfeng smiled and nodded. "That's right, sect master. She is Bailey Hongzhuang. You've made a great contribution this time." The sect master patted Wu Wenfeng's shoulder happily. "You'll be rewarded." "Thank you, sect master." Wu Wenfeng was delighted. He knew all too well how important a light attribute cultivator was to a sect. Previously, the Fiery Flames sect only had one light attribute cultivator. This cultivator's status in the sect was no less than their steward's. Bailey Hongzhuang seemed to be even more talented in the light attribute. One could imagine her future status in the Fiery Flame sect. At that thought, Wu Wenfeng could not help but rejoice. He was glad that he had chosen to support Bailey Hongzhuang. If he had known that Bailey Hongzhuang had awakened a light attribute, he would not have hesitated to reject anyone who came looking for trouble, let alone the Di family. When Di Beichen noticed that Bailey Hongzhuang had awakened a light attribute, a trace of astonishment flashed across his handsome eyes. Then, a joyful smile appeared on his face. His wife was supposed to be a proud daughter of heaven. As he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, who was illuminated by the light energy, he felt that it was simply too suitable. Previously, he had not been able to figure out which attribute suited Bailey Hongzhuang. Now that the light energy had appeared, he felt that there was no energy more suitable for her than the light attribute. This is too shocking. Miss Bailey actually awakened the light attribute. Yi Haomiao looked at Wan Yanhan in shock. Although he had previously joked that he hoped that Bailey Hongzhuang would be able to awaken the light attribute, he didn't expect that his blind guess would actually come true. Little junior sister's talent is amazing. Not only did Wan Yanhan notice that Bailey Hongzhuang had awakened the light attribute, he also discovered that the level of this light attribute was extremely terrifying. Do you remember when Xiao Rojin awakened the light attribute? At that time, the sect master said that Xiao Rojin's attribute talent level was extremely high. She was already a rare light attribute cultivator. Look at the crystal ball in front of little junior sister. The light is even brighter than Xiao Rojin's back then. Hearing this, Yi Haomiao couldn't help but take a closer look, and said, "Before you mentioned it, I didn't think much of it, but now that you mention it, I realize that it really is. Could it be that Miss Bailey's attribute level was even higher than Xiao Rojin's? That would be amazing." "I think so." Wan Yanhan nodded. "Look, the sect master's attitude has also changed. I think he will announce it later." Just as everyone was discussing, a similar white figure slowly appeared in everyone's line of sight. Chapter 43-28. Look, Xiao Rojin is here too. Could it be that she knew that Bailey Hongzhuang would awaken the light attribute, so she came here to take a look? This Xiao Rojin's status in the Blazing Flame School is also extraordinary. It's fine that she came late today, but she actually came in such a high-profile manner. I really don't know what to say. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang has also awakened the light attribute, she won't be the only light attribute cultivator in the Blazing Flame School in the future. I wonder if she can still be like this. Xiao Rojin just happened to be interested, so she wanted to come to the awakening ceremony to take a look. However, she didn't expect to notice the shining light attribute on the high platform as soon as she arrived. Her expression immediately changed. Such a dense light was even more powerful than what she had been before, causing her expression to stiffen. Light attribute cultivators were rare in the upper realm. She didn't expect the Blazing Flame School to recruit another one so quickly. It was really surprising. Bailey Hongzhuang also didn't expect her awakened attribute to be light. She couldn't help but be shocked. She inexplicably remembered the two words that the Master of the Ruins said to her back in the ruins: ill-fated relationship. Ill-fated relationship. All this time, the chains of this chain had been circling in her mind. She couldn't understand why the Master of the Ruins would say such a thing. She and Di Beichen had always been developing smoothly without any obstacles. How could it be related to ill-fated relationship? However, when she awakened the light attribute, she felt that the ill-fated relationship might have something to do with their different attributes. Light and darkness were two completely different attributes. Although it was a little strange for it to appear in a couple, it shouldn't have too much of an impact. She had never heard of cultivators of different attributes not being able to be together. Even if they were of completely opposite attributes, there shouldn't be any relationship between them. Master, what's Bailey Hongzhuang's talent level? Wu Wenfeng looked at the dense light in front of him. After thinking for a while, he decided to ask the master. In fact, he felt that such a dense light was very similar to the situation that appeared with Di Beichen previously, but he didn't dare to say it out loud. After all, it was impossible to reach the max level on a normal day. It was already inconceivable that a single max level player had appeared today. If there were two max-level players, and both of them were a married couple, it was simply too unbelievable. However, the sect leader still said those two words. Max level. Bailey Hongzhuang, light attribute, max level. At this moment, without waiting for Wu Wenfeng to announce it, the sect leader had already announced it himself. Even with the sect master's temperament, he couldn't help but feel a surge of emotions. What did it mean to have a max-level light attribute cultivator? If he could not spread this news, he did not know how many forces would envy him. He didn't expect his luck to be so good. Wu Wenfeng actually recruited such a talented cultivator for him. It was simply an incomparable surprise. Following the sect leader's words, all the cultivators present were dumbfounded. For a moment, everyone couldn't help but imagine what it meant to have a full-level light attribute cultivator. It meant that Bailey Hongzhuang's future was limitless, and it meant that she would have a high status. Chapter 43-29. After Xiao Rojin heard the sect master's announcement, she could not help but tremble, and her expression became extremely ugly. Back then, when she was assessed as an 8th-level light attribute cultivator, it had already shocked everyone. However, now, there was actually a max-level light attribute cultivator. This was simply too unbelievable. This kind of talent was simply a legendary existence. However, the next scene made Xiao Rojin's eyes light up. This was because, after the crystal ball released the extreme light attribute light, a faint black light suddenly appeared in it. After noticing this black light, everyone's expression became strange again. How strange! Previously, a white light appeared in Bewitching's darkness attribute, and a black light appeared in Bailey Hongzhuang's light attribute. Could it be that because the two of them are husband and wife, their attributes are somewhat mixed? That's impossible, right? I've never heard of such a situation. Wu Wenfeng could not help but look at the sect master again. Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang had the same situation, and after connecting the two, it became very strange. Sect master, what's going on? The sect master frowned and shook his head. A max-level cultivator has only been recorded in books before and has never been seen in real life. Therefore, I can't judge the real situation. The only thing I can be sure of is that their attribute talents are all at the max level. As for the rest, I'll do some research. At this moment, even the sect master could not easily make a judgment. Hearing the sect master's words, Wu Wenfeng also nodded. This kind of situation could only be confirmed after consulting the books. After all, this kind of situation was simply too rare. Bailey Hongzhuang stared at the darkness attribute energy in front of her, and she felt that all of this was not a coincidence. Bewitching's situation just now must have some kind of connection with her situation. Furthermore, this trace of black energy was not an impurity at all, but darkness energy. Previously, when she had not awakened, she could not judge, but now that her attribute talent had awakened, she could already judge that this was definitely darkness energy. As Bailey Hongzhuang walked down the stage, everyone's eyes never left her. Especially when they saw Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching standing together, their expressions became extremely strange. Today, everyone's limelight had been overshadowed by Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao Luo, unless another max-level cultivator appeared. However, everyone knew that this was impossible. Bewitching. As Bailey Hongzhuang walked to Bewitching's side, the two looked at each other and immediately understood everything. Wife, is the power you've awakened darkness? Bewitching asked. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. That's right. Your darkness attribute is mixed with the light attribute, right? Yes. Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang both fell into deep thought. This situation was indeed a little strange. Why is this happening? Bailey Hongzhuang frowned slightly. This situation was completely out of their expectations. Could it be that a person can actually awaken more than one type of power? Chapter 43-30. After what happened to Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching, the following awakening ceremony seemed dull. Everyone was immersed in Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching's results. Such results were too shocking. Coupled with the recent deeds of Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching in the Blazing Flame sect, they were now known by everyone. After the awakening ceremony ended, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen slowly walked back to their residence. However, at this moment, both of them were thinking about why such a situation occurred. Little junior sister, congratulations. Wan Yanhan walked up to Bailey Hongzhuang with a congratulatory smile on his face. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Thank you, senior brother. Your results today really shocked everyone. In the history of the Blazing Flames sect, oh no, in the history of the entire Rong and city, I'm afraid such a situation has never happened before. Yi Haomiao's eyes flashed with excitement. You've even stumped the sect leader. How rare is that? As he spoke, Yi Haomiao put a hand on Di Beichen's shoulder and said, Beichen, you don't have to worry too much. Although the darkness attribute isn't very popular, you have the max level darkness attribute. This way, the situation will be different. I believe that you'll be very strong in the future. Di Beichen knew that Yi Haomiao was taking his emotions into consideration, so he smiled. Yes, no matter what kind of power it is, there will always be a way out. Speaking of which, something else has appeared in both of your powers. Do you know what it is? Wan Yanhan couldn't help but ask. We don't know. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head. We only learned about the awakening of attributes recently. As for the possible situation, we only heard about it from you, senior brother. Senior martial brother, do you know why this happened? I don't know either. Wan Yanhan looked helpless. I've never heard of it before. Senior brother Wan Yan, we would like to inquire about the situation in this area from books. May I know where we can find related books? There should be some in the library. Now that you're disciples of the Raging Flame School, you can go take a look. However, I think that the sect master will also look for relevant information. If he finds it, he should tell you. Hearing this, Di Beichen cupped his hands and said, Thank you. After separating from Wan Yanhan, Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Beichen and said, Beichen, have you decided to go to the library to check it out? Di Beichen nodded slightly. If the relevant information is recorded in the books, we'd better check it out ourselves. Okay. Bailey Hongzhuang replied. The sect master would indeed check it out, but they couldn't guarantee what he would tell them. In comparison, it was safer for them to find out the situation themselves. Whether it was Di Beichen or Bailey Hongzhuang, they both liked to control everything in their own hands, not others. In the library, with Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen's current level, they could only stay on the first floor of the library. Although they couldn't find more books, they didn't mind. Even if they could find some clues, it would be good. Chapter 43-31. Time gradually passed. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen sat quietly in the library, but the number of books they read increased. The four beasties did not stay idle in such a situation, and they all helped to search. Therefore, their reading speed was extremely fast. However, after flipping through almost all the books on the first floor of the library, they still did not find anything. Beichen, these books have no record of the relevant situation. Bailey Hongzhuang closed the book in her hand and looked at Di Beichen, who was still searching seriously. Di Beichen looked up slightly and nodded. There are no descriptions in these anecdotes either. The situation we encountered today should be very rare. Actually, we could tell from the temple master and steward Wu's expressions at that time. There might be some records in the books on the upper floors, Bailey Hongzhuang said after some thought. Max-level cultivators are already very rare, and the situation after that is probably even more unheard of. It's normal that we can't find any records in such a short period of time. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. Why don't we ask Steward Wu? With my identity as an inscription master and our performance today, perhaps I'll have some special privileges? Moreover, we're not looking for cultivation methods or martial techniques. We just want to find some anecdotes. It should be possible. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's suggestion, a thoughtful light flashed across Di Beichen's eyes. We can try. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen went to ask Steward Wu for permission to enter the upper floors of the library, the Blazing Flame sect's master, Yun Qingyu, was also looking through the relevant information. Wu Wenfeng was right beside him. The situation we saw today is really too rare. Even when we flipped through the ancient books, there was no record of the relevant content. Yun Qingyu frowned. He had to admit that the appearance of two cultivators with max-level innate talents today was a huge surprise to him. The only thing he could not understand now was why such a situation had happened later. He had never heard of any substance other than this attribute appearing during the awakening of an innate talent. As for the impurities that he had mentioned, he wasn't very sure himself. Sect Master, didn't you say those things were impurities? Wu Wenfeng couldn't help but ask. Although that's what I said, when I think about it carefully, I feel that there might be some problems. Yun Qingyu pondered. If there are impurities, then their talent level shouldn't have reached the maximum level. Max level means that their talent in this attribute has reached perfection. Since it's perfect, why would there be impurities? As Yun Qingyu's voice fell, Wu Wenfeng also nodded. Sect Master, you're right. In that case, the situation is indeed a little strange. I actually have a rather unbelievable guess. What guess? Yun Qingyu glanced at Wu Wenfeng's hesitant expression and said, We're both thinking about this right now. Just say whatever comes to mind. There's no need to be reserved. Seeing this, Wu Wenfeng finally relaxed a little. Sect Master, could the other substance that appeared be of another attribute? Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen have the light and dark attributes respectively. They're also husband and wife. Since they spend every night together, perhaps there's an effect on each other. Chapter 43-32. Now, other than these two possibilities, I really can't think of any other. Wu Wenfeng's expression was somewhat helpless. Originally, he had recruited two cultivators who were at the maximum level. This was something that made him extremely happy. However, he didn't expect to give them such a big problem at the same time. If you really don't have any ideas, why don't you invite Xiao Rojin over and ask her? Yun Qingyu said slowly, her main family has a holy maiden of light. I'm sure we'll know something after asking her. Ever since Xiao Rojin found out that Bailey Hongzhuang was a cultivator with the highest level of the light attribute, her feelings were very complicated. She originally thought that if she didn't stay in the main city and came to Rong and City, she would be able to become the rarest light attribute cultivator here. She didn't expect that there would be a cultivator with the highest level of the light attribute in Rong and City now. Her previous balance was immediately broken. This was not a situation she wanted to see. Cultivators with the light attribute are extremely rare. It's already extremely difficult to find someone with average aptitude. How could there be a cultivator with the highest level of aptitude? Xiao Rojin frowned. If she hadn't seen it with her own eyes today, she wouldn't have believed this news at all. Just as she was thinking, she suddenly heard the news from the sect master. Her heart couldn't help but thump. She felt a wave of apprehension, but she didn't dare to delay at all. Greetings, sect master. Xiao Rojin bowed to Yun Qingyu. Her delicate and fair face was rippling with a gentle smile. Coupled with her delicate temperament, her entire person seemed to be made of water. Her pair of watery eyes made people feel relaxed and happy at a glance. Seeing Xiao Rojin, Yun Qingyu's face also bloomed with a smile. You're here. Congratulations, sect master, for recruiting two cultivators with the highest level of talent. One of them is even a cultivator with the highest level of the light attribute. Congratulations. Xiao Rojin congratulated, her beautiful little face blooming like a flower. Yun Qingyu chuckled. This is indeed a joyous occasion. It's beyond all of our expectations. I heard that these two took the initiative to join the Blazing Flames sect. I think it must be because of the sect master's reputation that they came because of it. With just a few simple words, Xiao Rojin made Yun Qingyu extremely happy. Xiao Rojin, I called you over this time because I have something to ask you, Yun Qingyu said slowly, and there was a hint of seriousness in his smile. Hearing this, Xiao Rojin's expression also became more serious. Sect Master, please ask. Rojin will definitely tell you everything she knows. Do you know what happened to Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen today? Yun Qingyu's dark eyes were serious. You're a level 8 light attribute cultivator yourself, so you should have some understanding of this. Do you think it could be another attribute? Xiao Rojin didn't answer immediately. Instead, she thought seriously for a moment before saying, "Sect Master, to be honest, I've heard of cultivators who can awaken two attributes at the same time. However, I've only heard of it in stories before. However, those are attributes that don't conflict with each other. For example, darkness and light are two completely opposite attributes. My family has said that it's impossible for them to exist at the same time, because this possibility itself already defies common sense." Chapter 43:33. According to this, it seems that there is only one explanation for the existence of impurities in the attribute? Yun Qingyu frowned slightly. The deep and bright name was blooming with a complicated light. He always felt that this explanation was a bit far-fetched. Xiao Rojin also said uncertainly, "I think so. Other than this, I really can't think of any other possibilities. Sect Master, even if there are impurities, it's not a big deal. Their attribute talents have already reached the maximum level. Although they are not as powerful as the Holy Maiden of Light of our main house, their talents have definitely surpassed the vast majority of cultivators." Hearing this, Yun Qingyu nodded, and his expression relaxed a little. "You're right. Whether it's impurities or not, to be able to reach this level is already very outstanding. Rojin, if you have the chance, can you help me ask?" "Don't worry, Sect Master. If I have the chance, I will definitely ask. If I have any news, I will definitely report it as soon as possible. Then I'll have to trouble you." A smile appeared on Yun Qingyu's face. The Holy Maiden of Light must have a certain understanding of this. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen waited outside the door for a while before they saw Wu Wenfeng slowly walk back. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao Rojin, Wu Wenfeng's eyes revealed a trace of surprise. "You're here to find me?" Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. "Steward Wu, we want to go to the library to take a look, but we can only go to the first floor, so we came to find you to ask if there's a way to go to the higher floors to take a look." Hearing this, Wu Wenfeng was not surprised. "You want to check if there is any information related to your situation today in the ancient books, right?" "Yes." Di Beichen replied frankly. "With your performance today, you will definitely be groomed as key disciples of the Blazing Flames sect in the future. It's possible to upgrade your authority, but I'm afraid it will be very difficult for you to achieve your goal." Wu Wenfeng sighed, his expression filled with confusion and helplessness. "Actually, after what happened today, we've already looked into it, but it's really too rare. Until now, we haven't found anything related to it that can explain it. However, since Sect Master is looking for Xiao Rojin, maybe you can get some information from her. Once I figure it out, I'll tell you." Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen couldn't help but look at each other. It seemed that their guess was right. The Sect Master was also studying this point. Xiao Rojin? Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but think of the white-robed woman she had seen today. Steward Wu, was she the only light cultivator in the Raging Flame School? "That's right, it's her." Wu Wenfeng nodded. "The Xiao family has a very high status in the upper realm. Light attribute cultivators often appear in their family." As soon as he said that, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen immediately understood. Just based on what Wu Wenfeng had said, it was enough to prove that Xiao Rojin's background was completely incomparable to Di Wentao's. No wonder that Xiao Rojin has always been like the moon surrounded by stars in the Raging Flame School. So she has such a background. Xiao He could not help but sigh. The scene of Xiao Rojin's appearance today was comparable to that of the Sect Master. She was just a disciple of the Raging Flame School. How could such a scene not leave a deep impression? "I see." Chapter 43:34. Bailey Hongzhuang was a little surprised to see Wu Wenfeng give her the warrant so easily. Although she felt that she had a chance to enter the higher levels of the library, she thought that Wu Wenfeng would hesitate. She didn't expect things to go so smoothly. "Both of you are cultivators with full attribute talents. It's only a matter of time before you obtain this level of authority. Why should I stop you?" Wu Wenfeng explained as if he had guessed Bailey Hongzhuang's thoughts. "Speaking of which, I have to thank you for joining the Blazing Sect. If it weren't for you, the Sect Master probably wouldn't have treated me differently." Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen smiled when they heard that. "Thank you, Steward Wu. Go on. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen returned to the library after receiving the warrant. Even though Steward Wu said that there was no relevant information in the library, they still decided to take a look. They had just arrived in the upper realm, so there were too many things they didn't know. They would be able to understand more through these books. At the very least, they wouldn't be completely clueless. For the next few days, they stayed in the library. The contents here allowed them to gain a better understanding of the upper realm. However, everything was as Manager Wu had said. There was indeed no record of the situation that they had appeared in. Beichen, things that haven't appeared in the past don't mean that they can't appear now. It's just like how most cultivators can only contract one beast. However, this rule has been broken for me. There hasn't been a cultivator who has awakened the darkness and light attributes in the past, but it doesn't mean that it's impossible for the two of us. Bailey Hongzhuang's clear black and white eyes rippled with a calm and wise light. In the past few days, she had made many connections and finally came to this conclusion. If it were in the past, she wouldn't have believed it either. However, transmigration had happened to her. What else was impossible? Di Beichen nodded when he heard Bailey Hongzhuang's words. You're right. Perhaps what happened to us is another transformation. It's just that it happened to us, and it's our attributes. It's too much of a coincidence. Maybe we're husband and wife and spend all our time together, so we've been affected by each other. Bailey Hongzhuang pondered. In fact, other than this explanation, she really couldn't think of any other explanation. Suddenly, Di Beichen's eyes narrowed. Wife, take a look at what's written in this book. Bailey Hongzhuang went to Di Beichen's side. He was also holding a book's record. He was also holding a book that contained excerpts of legends. The Holy Maiden of Light and the Lord of Darkness had disappeared together for a period of time. After reading up to here, Bailey Hongzhuang was surprised. This news was really a bit explosive. Di Beichen nodded slightly. There are only a few sentences recorded in this book. Back then, the Holy Maiden of Light and the Lord of Darkness disappeared together. Later on, the people of the Holy Assembly of Light found the Holy Maiden of Light and had a great battle with the Lord of Darkness. Since then, the Holy Maiden of Light had stayed in the Holy Assembly of Light and never left. In just a few decades, the Holy Maiden of Light had fallen. Chapter 43-35. Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful eyes sparkled with doubt. She propped her chin up with her hand and tapped her chin rhythmically with her index finger. There must be something fishy about this. I have the same thoughts as you. There must be something hidden behind this. It's just that it hasn't been recorded yet. Logically speaking, since she could become the Holy Maiden of Light, her cultivation must be very strong and her lifespan should be very long. How could she have died in just a few decades? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Could it be that the Lord of Darkness had captured the Holy Maiden of Light? The relationship between the two parties was so bad. It's very possible that the Lord of Darkness had done so. I don't think that's the case. Di Beichen pondered over the description in the book. Although it was only a few lines of words, after careful consideration, he could still find some clues that were revealed. If the Lord of Darkness wanted to harm the Holy Maiden of Light, since he had captured the Holy Maiden of Light, then he could have killed the Holy Maiden of Light. Why would he give the people of the Holy Assembly the chance to rescue the Holy Maiden of Light? Di Beichen's voice was low. His handsome eyes rippled with thoughts. His intuition told him that this was definitely not the case. You're right. But if that's not the case... Bailey Hongzhuang's index finger that was tapping her chin suddenly stopped. Her clear black and white eyes suddenly shone brightly. Do you think? Could there be an affair between the Holy Maiden of Light and the Lord of Darkness? Di Beichen fell silent as soon as she said this. Thinking about it carefully, there is indeed such a possibility. The book says that the Holy Maiden of Light had disappeared for a long time. If there were feelings between the two parties, then everything would make sense. It can't be that explosive. Bailey Hongzhuang stood up and paced slowly. The Holy Maiden of Light had a very high status in the past. The Lord of Darkness was also someone who was abandoned by everyone. This feeling is equivalent to the Holy Maiden and the Devil being together. If this news were to spread, how shocking would it be? If it's true, then this relationship can be called an unparalleled love. Nothing is impossible in this world. Bewitching was relatively indifferent. If that's the case, the Saintess of Light might have died of depression. A relationship that everyone opposes must be very stressful for them. I suddenly sympathize with them. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but sigh. With such a huge gap, let alone actually happening, just thinking about it was enough to understand that this was an extremely terrifying disaster. If their guesses were true, the relationship back then must have been fascinating and torturous. How deep must their feelings be for them to disregard the views of the world and be together? Unfortunately, it didn't end well. They had already expected this outcome before they got together, but they still did it. This proves that everything is worth it in their hearts. At the very least, they still spent some time together, didn't they? It's best if the relationship lasts forever, but for them, having a period of time together might be worth a lifetime of nostalgia, Bewitching said slowly. Chapter 43-36. For people of their status, they can obtain many things that ordinary people can't. However, the things that they can't obtain are the things that ordinary people can easily obtain. Bewitching's eyes were deep. He couldn't help but think of his master, He Shenjun. From the moment he saw his master, he felt a kind of sadness in his master's eyes. This kind of sadness went deep into the bone marrow, dissolved in the blood, and implanted in the soul. Logically speaking, with He Shenjun's strength and ability, he should be high-spirited. However, he only saw an indescribable sadness in He Shenjun's eyes. Even if he knew that the power of darkness was misunderstood by the world, he believed that this was not the only thing that made He Shenjun so sad. There must be something else. However, He Shenjun had never told him. He felt that perhaps when the time He Shenjun spoke of arrived, he would be able to find out everything. Bewitching, doesn't your master have the inheritance of the power of darkness? The power of darkness has been lost for so many years. So many people in the upper realm have not been able to find the inheritance of the power of darkness. However, your master has it. Do you think that he is the Lord of Darkness? Bailey Hongzhuang's delicate and outstanding face rippled with a faint pondering expression. Her bright eyes stared at Bewitching. She felt that her guess was not impossible. I don't know about this. Bewitching shook his head. There were still too many things that they did not understand. Even if he vaguely had such a guess in his heart, he could not be so sure before he had concrete evidence. Let's look at the books again. Maybe there will be other clues. The two immediately looked at the books again. Unfortunately, except for a few sporadic records in that book, they could not find any other related records. Regarding this point, Bailey Hongzhuang was helpless, but they were also quite calm. They had already guessed that they could not find any related content. Now that they could see a few words, it was already a good result. When Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching appeared in front of everyone again, everyone looked at them differently. Wanyan Han and Yi Haomiao rushed over almost immediately. Where have the two of you been these 2 days? We didn't see any trace of you, so we thought something had happened to you. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled slightly. What else can happen between us? Did you think that we were captured by the D family? That's not impossible. Yi Haomiao said seriously, the D family is obviously not a good person. They might have been taught a lesson, but they might not have stopped. If the two of you don't appear, Wanyan Han and I will go to the D family to look for you. Fortunately, the two of you didn't go. The D family is sinister and ruthless. If only the two of you went, wouldn't you have died in their hands? Bailey Hongzhuang was shocked. Fortunately, these two guys didn't do anything impulsive. Speaking of which, where did the two of you go? Wanyan Han couldn't help but ask. We stayed in the library for a few days, Bewitching answered. So you went to the library? Wanyan Han suddenly understood. To find out what happened to the two of you. Chapter 43-37. Bailey Hongzhuang spread out her hands. Everything was as Wanyan Han had told them before. It's normal that you didn't find anything. However, during the few days you were in the library, there was a rather certain piece of news. Wan Yanhan said. What news? You know Xiao Rojin, right? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. I know her. She's the light attribute cultivator from before. I heard that she and the sect master had researched it. In the end, they determined that the reason why your innate talents are like this is because of impurities. There are still some impurities in your innate talents. Therefore, although it looks like you're at the peak level, there's still a gap. Hearing that, Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching looked at each other. They found it funny. Although they hadn't found any records to confirm their thoughts, the two of them were very sure that what happened to their bodies was the awakening of two innate talents. That other substance was definitely not an impurity, but a different kind of power. Because the two of them could clearly feel it. It was just that Bailey Hongzhuang's light attribute was the strongest, and her darkness attribute was the weakest. Bewitching's situation was the complete opposite. Even so, it was still another kind of power. They even tried to control the other kind of power. The situation was just as they thought. They could indeed control it. They believed that as long as they practiced more, they would definitely be able to control both kinds of power very well in the future. As for the so-called impurities, they couldn't be bothered to care about it. What kind of person is Xiao Rojin? Why is she so sure that everyone believes her? Bailey Hongzhuang was puzzled. Speaking of Xiao Rojin, it's complicated. Actually, the reason why she was able to obtain such a position in the Raging Flame sect is not only because she's a light attribute cultivator that has reached the 8th rank, but also because of her background, the Xiao clan. The Xiao clan is a large aristocratic family in the upper realm. They're so powerful that it's beyond our understanding. Normally, we wouldn't even be able to come into contact with them. Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching couldn't help but exchange a glance. It seemed like the Xiao clan was also a super clan like the D clan. Just like how no one knew about the D clan when they asked about the D clan, they didn't expect that someone from the Xiao clan actually knew about it. Since the Xiao family is so powerful, why did she come to Rong and City? With her background, she should be able to develop better if she stays in a super family like the Xiao family, right? Bewitching furrowed his beautiful eyebrows. Just this point alone was already very unreasonable. Xiao Rojin is actually a cultivator from the Xiao family's branch family. She is not qualified to enter the real Xiao family. In fact, those super aristocratic families had existed for many years, so there were branch families, but the main family was the direct descendant. Of course, if the branch family cultivators performed well, they would be able to enter the main family and stay in the main family. However, Xiao Rojin obviously hasn't reached that level yet, but she's not bad either. That's why she came to the Raging Flame School and obtained such a high status here. So it's like that. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded lightly, immediately understanding. She used to be the head of the Bailey family, so she was very clear about this situation. Chapter 43-38. Let me tell you, there's a cultivator of the light attribute with full talent in the Xiao family. It's said that she's very likely to become the next Holy Maiden of Light. Ever since this news spread, the status of the Xiao family has risen. Although Xiao Rojin is only a branch disciple of the Xiao family, in our Rong and City, her status is already very impressive. The next Holy Maiden of Light? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. She didn't care much about the other news, but this news was very surprising. Wan Yanhan nodded. That's right. It's very rare for the Holy Maiden of Light to appear. Only cultivators with full talent attributes can inherit it. In fact, ever since the previous Holy Maiden of Light fell, there hasn't been a new Holy Maiden of Light for a long time. We only found out about this news because Xiao Rojin joined the Blazing Flame School. By the way, I also heard another news. In fact, although the Holy Maiden of Light of the Xiao family is very strong, her talent attribute hasn't really reached the full level. It's only close to the full level. There's still a slight difference. However, because the Holy Maiden of Light hasn't appeared for too long, the people of the Holy Assembly are still very interested in making her the Holy Maiden of Light. Yi Haomiao lowered his voice and told them the news he had received. How did you know about such secretive information? Wan Yanhan looked at Yi Haomiao in surprise. Even he had never heard of this kind of news. I heard from the people around Xiao Rojin that as long as you find a way to get this kind of news, you can always get it. You're not as flexible as me. Women, you can get a lot of information from them by coaxing them. Yi Haomiao chuckled. Actually, I'm also concerned about your situation, Hong Zhuang. That's why I went to get information. Don't look at me with such strange eyes. All right, seeing that you have good intentions, I won't despise you. Wanyan Han shrugged and said, Hong Zhuang, speaking of which, your light attribute talent is so powerful. If you go to the Holy Assembly, you should be treated very well. If there are no impurities when your talent awakens, you might directly replace the Holy Maiden of Light of the Xiao family and become the real Holy Maiden of Light. Once you succeed, it will be amazing. A hint of excitement appeared on Yi Haomiao's face. Just thinking about this possibility made him extremely excited. Forget it, the Xiao clan has already produced a successor to the Holy Maiden of Light. Why should I join in the fun? Fortunately, some impurities appeared when my innate talent was awakened. Otherwise, I might have lost my life. Bailey Hongzhuang wrinkled her nose. She understood this situation very well. The Xiao family had such a strong background. They would definitely be overjoyed to have an inheritor of the Holy Maiden of Light. If he ruined their plan, they might send someone to deal with him soon. Moreover, ever since she had guessed some secrets about the Saintess of the Light in the library, she felt that there was nothing good about being the Saintess of the Light. Coincidentally, Beichen was also a practitioner of the dark attribute. If she had to separate from Di Beichen because of this, she would not be able to accept it. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Wanyan Han nodded. Junior sister, you're right. We shouldn't get involved in this matter. Chapter 43-39. After reaching a consensus, Wanyan Han and the rest did not continue to harp on this point. After all, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen were already very impressive to be able to achieve such results. In the future, they would definitely have a good future in the Blazing Flames sect. As for those things that were out of their reach, it was better for them to just ignore it. After returning to the house, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen had a good discussion again. Wife, since everyone is now certain that this situation is due to the appearance of the impurities, we might as well not explain it. I will pass on the dark attribute inheritance to you. As long as you cultivate it well, it can be used as a trump card in the future. It can achieve unexpected results. As cultivators, they were very clear about the use of trump cards. If all of their trump cards were known by their opponents, they would be in real danger. The more trump cards they had, the safer they would be. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Okay. The bird that pokes its head out will be shot. She was very clear about this. Their previous performance was already sufficiently high profile. Now that the major forces had not noticed them, it was extremely good for them to keep a low profile. Master, something seems to be wrong with Xiao Bai's situation. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen were discussing the upcoming situation, Xiao Hei's anxious voice was suddenly heard. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen's expressions changed. They hurriedly asked, "What happened?" Actually, ever since Master's innate talent was awakened, Xiao Bai has been a little strange. It has always felt very uncomfortable, but it felt that there was nothing wrong with it. It also didn't want Master to worry, so it has been enduring it. Now, it's becoming more and more strange. Master, quickly take a look at it. Xiao Hei's face was filled with anxiety. It had been with Xiao Bai for so many years, but it had never seen Xiao Bai in such a situation. How could this be? Bailey Hongzhuang was also very anxious. She immediately began to check on Xiao Bai's situation. You should have told me immediately. We also don't know why its situation is getting worse. At first, we thought it was just a little uncomfortable and would be over after a while. We didn't expect it to get worse. Bailey Hongzhuang took Xiao Bai's pulse and realized that Xiao Bai's situation was indeed very strange. Wife, how's Xiao Bai's situation? Asked Di Beichen. Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. Its situation is very strange. It's a bit like an attribute awakening. The power in its body is rampaging, so it fell into this situation. Be able to control? I've never encountered such a situation before, but I'll think of a way to try. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang was thinking of a way to control Xiaobai's situation, Xiaobai suddenly charged toward Di Beichen as if it had gone mad. It bit Di Beichen's shoulder. Seeing this, everyone could not help but be stunned. Xiaobai! Everyone called out. They could not understand why Xiaobai had suddenly become like this. It was really too strange. Just as everyone was wondering why Xiaobai had suddenly gone mad, they realized that after Di Beichen's blood stained Xiaobai's fur, Xiaobai's situation suddenly calmed down. Then there was a flash of light, and Xiaobai fell into a deep sleep. Master, what's going on? Chapter 43-40. However, Bailey Hongzhuang did not answer Xiao Hei's question immediately. Instead, she exchanged glances with Di Beichen. If they had not seen wrongly, did Xiaobai complete a contract with Di Beichen? Bailey Hongzhuang immediately checked the contract totem between her and Xiaobai. She realized that the original totem had disappeared. At the same time, Di Beichen realized that he had a new totem. There was a new connection between him and Xiaobai. What's going on? Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen stared at each other. This situation was too strange. Since ancient times, they had never heard of a contract beast being able to change owners. Moreover, this had happened so suddenly. How did Xiaobai suddenly become Di Beichen's contract beast? I don't know. Di Beichen shook his head. This had happened so suddenly that he did not expect this at all. Xiaobai had already fainted. Bailey Hongzhuang heaved a sigh of relief after checking on Xiaobai's condition. Although I don't know what happened, Xiaobai's condition has stabilized. There shouldn't be any more problems. Di Beichen, Xiao Hei, and Baisher heaved a sigh of relief after hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words. They had been very worried when Xiaobai suddenly became like that. After letting Xiaobai rest, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen began to recall the details from before. Xiaobai was originally fine. Did this happen all of a sudden because you were going to be its owner? Bailey Hongzhuang pondered. This situation had happened too suddenly. Moreover, she had never heard of a similar situation. Come to think of it, Xiaobai's situation seems to coincide with the awakening of our talents. Previously, the energy in Xiaobai's body kept clashing. Could it be that your darkness attribute is suitable for it? I just checked and found that Xiao Hei's awakened elemental power is also of the dark attribute. Upon hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Di Beichen was surprised. Xiaobai has the dark attribute? That's right. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. I've checked it myself. It's the darkness attribute. Then take a look at Xiao Hei's attributes. Without waiting for Bailey Hongzhuang to check, Xiao Hei had already taken the initiative to explain. Master, I'm of the light attribute like you. That's interesting. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows slightly. After connecting all the dots, everything became very interesting. Indeed, this seems to be too much of a coincidence. Di Beichen's deep eyes flashed with a complicated light. Xiao Hei and Xiaobai's attributes are just like the color of their fur. Could it be that this was destined from the beginning? The two of us have such a difference in attributes. It's the same for Xiao Hei and Xiaobai. Now, Xiaobai has even become your contracted beast. All of this is very strange. Moreover, after connecting all the dots, it seems like it was destined. If it was only one thing, it might be a coincidence. However, when all of these things were connected together, it was no longer a coincidence. Bailey Hongzhuang never believed that so many coincidences could happen in such a short period of time. Everything seemed to have been premeditated. It's very strange indeed. Di Beichen agreed with Bailey Hongzhuang's opinion. There should be some connection between all these things. However, we need to think carefully about what exactly it is. Chapter 43-41. When Xiaobai slowly woke up, it opened its eyes to find Bailey Hongzhuang, Di Beichen, Xiao Hei, and Baisher staring at it. It could not help but be stunned. Master, why are you looking at me like that? Bailey Hongzhuang saw Xiaobai calling her master, and could not help but say helplessly, Xiaobai, your current master is Di Beichen. As Bailey Hongzhuang finished speaking, Xiaobai was stunned. It looked at her in confusion, its eyes filled with confusion. What are you talking about? I don't understand. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen looked at each other. It seemed that Xiaobai did not know what had happened either. In that case, the situation was really a mystery. Xiao He moved in front of Xiaobai and said, "Xiaobai, you suddenly went crazy and changed the contract. Now, you're Di Beichen's contracted beast." "Xiao He, what nonsense are you talking about?" Xiaobai frowned, vaguely showing some anger. Bailey Hongzhuang had always been its closest master. Now that Xiao He had suddenly said such things to it, it was very unhappy. However, when it felt carefully, it found that it didn't know when, but the person who was connected to it had become Di Beichen. For a moment, Xiaobai felt as if it had been struck by lightning. It stared blankly at Bailey Hongzhuang and the others in front of it, its mind blank. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang was about to tell Xiaobai what had happened, Xiaobai suddenly burst into tears. "Master, don't you want Xiaobai anymore? What did Xiaobai do wrong? Why did you abandon me for no reason?" Xiaobai sat on the bed with a thud. Its chubby little hands covered its eyes as it cried. Its pitiful little appearance was completely like an abandoned little beast. It could not take such a blow and was heartbroken. Seeing this scene, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips twitched. Speaking of which, she should be the one who was abandoned now, right? Xiaobai suddenly abandoned her and chose another master. Now, it was actually complaining about her. She was the one who was suffering but could not speak of it. However, seeing Xiaobai's heartbroken expression, Bailey Hongzhuang's heart ached. This little fellow had always been by her side and was very loyal. Thinking about it, it seemed that Xiaobai did not know what had happened. Otherwise, it would not be so sad. It would not be so sad now. In the next second, Bailey Hongzhuang pulled Xiaobai into her arms. She stroked its furry little head and comforted it. "Xiaobai, don't be sad. I didn't abandon you." Hearing this, Xiaobai raised its head and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with its big red, swollen eyes. "Then why was the contract between us suddenly cancelled? Well, you must be lying to me." As soon as he said that, Little White cried even harder. "Little White, we don't know what's going on either. You suddenly bit Beichen. After his blood dripped on you, the master-servant contract between us automatically cancelled. On the other hand, the contract between you and Beichen was completed. Speaking of which, I was the one who was abandoned by you." Xiaobai was slightly stunned. It looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in confusion and could not react for a moment. "This was done by me?" Chapter 43-42. At this moment, Xiao He also nodded. "Xiaobai, what Master said is true. I don't know what happened to you just now, but you suddenly seemed to be possessed and mysteriously became like this." Xiaobai, who was originally heartbroken, gradually calmed down after hearing everyone tell it the truth. Its red and swollen eyes looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen in front of it. It was obvious that it still could not believe this fact. After a long while, Xiaobai finally calmed down. However, its eyes were still full of reluctance when it looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly and patted Xiaobai's head. "Don't be sad. It's good that you're with Beichen. Besides, I've always been with Beichen. Although the owner of the contract has changed, it's still the same when you think about it. Don't worry, I'll take good care of you too." Di Beichen also smiled faintly. Hearing this, Xiaobai nodded. In fact, thinking about it carefully, its master and Di Beichen's relationship was so good, but in fact, it had not changed much. "I'm just not used to it yet. It's okay. You'll get used to it slowly." Bailey Hongzhuang's delicate and perfect face had a gentle smile. Her voice was as warm as the spring breeze. If this happened to someone else, she would definitely not be able to accept it. However, it happened to Di Beichen. This was already the most fortunate thing for her. At least Xiaobai was still with them every day. "Master, do you know why this is happening?" Little White had a puzzled look on his face. Even though he had already believed this fact, it was still too inconceivable. It had lived for so many years, but it had never heard of such a thing. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head slightly. "Right now, I don't know what happened either. However, the only thing I can think of is that it has something to do with the darkness attribute that you've awakened." "Do you know that you've already awakened the darkness attribute?" Xiaobai shook her head. "I don't know. Previously, I just felt very uncomfortable inside my body, as if my entire body was being burned. As for other problems, I don't know. I've just discovered this as well. You and Xiao He have awakened two completely different attributes. I think it's because you've awakened the darkness attribute, which doesn't match my attribute. That's why you completed the contract with Bewitching. However, I've never heard that a cultivator and a contracted beast must have the same attributes, so I can't think of a real explanation for now. Bailey Hongzhuang spread her hands. Originally, they came to the upper realm to help Bewitching find his biological parents and solve their doubts. Unexpectedly, they encountered even more puzzling things now. Bewitching is definitely not the only dark attribute cultivator in the upper realm. Why did Xiao Bai complete the contract with Bewitching? Baisher, who had been silent all this while, could not help but voice the doubts in his heart. He really could not understand this. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head. I don't know either. Perhaps it's because Bewitching is closer to her. No. Bewitching shook his head. His deep, dark eyes flickered with a complicated light. There must be another reason behind this. It's definitely not that simple. Chapter 43-43. Diyu Jue and Lin Yunqing searched for Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang along the way. Apart from finding some traces of Bewitching, there was no news of him at all. Yu Jue, we've been searching for a few days now. Why haven't we heard from Bewitching yet? Lin Yunqing's hands were tightly clasped together. Her beautiful face was filled with worry. Do you think something has happened to Bewitching? Diyu Jue also frowned. There's something wrong with this matter. I've already sent people to investigate. However, don't worry. Bewitching is blessed by the heavens. He'll definitely be fine. Something wrong? Lin Yunqing's eyes suddenly widened. She looked at Diyu Jue with burning eyes. What's wrong? Diyu Jue looked at the anxious Lin Yunqing. For a moment, he was hesitant about whether he should tell her. Don't hide it from me. I'm Bewitching's mother. I want to know everything about him. Lin Yunqing grabbed Diyu Jue's hand. Her expression was sincere and nervous. She had waited for so many years and finally found out about her son's whereabouts. He had already come to the upper realm, but they had searched for so long without finding any trace of him. She knew that something must have gone wrong. Then promise me that you won't think too much and that you won't be impulsive. Lin Yunqing nodded repeatedly. Alright, I promise you. There are two strange things. The first is that Bewitching should have come with Hongzhuang. However, according to the information we've received, everyone has only seen Bewitching's figure. They've never seen Hongzhuang's figure. According to what I know, the relationship between husband and wife is very good. They shouldn't have separated. Could they have gotten lost? Lin Yunqing guessed. That's indeed a possibility. Diyu Jue nodded. Originally, we had already found the city where Bewitching had appeared, but he didn't stay for long. Instead, he left in a hurry. Based on this point, I think he must have gone to find Hongzhuang. Otherwise, he would not have gone to other places with a purpose. What's the second point? Lin Yunqing continued to ask. Secondly, with the D family strength, it should be very easy for us to find Bewitching. At first, we found Bewitching's traces very quickly, but then the situation became very strange. It seems that someone got ahead of us and erased all traces of Bewitching. After that, a bunch of messy news suddenly appeared, completely confusing our line of sight. Until now, we have lost all clues. Diyu Jue's handsome face suddenly showed a trace of hostility. For such a situation to occur, it was obvious that someone was behind it. He had spent so many years to find his precious son. He would never allow anyone to lay a hand on his son again. If he knew who the culprit was, he would make sure that the culprit died without a burial place. Lin Yunqing was not a stupid person. After hearing this point, she immediately understood. You mean, there's a traitor in the family? Diyu Jue nodded slightly and lowered his voice. Not many people know about Bewitching's whereabouts. However, the traitor was able to find out about it. It seems that the traitor has hidden himself very well in the D family and has a very high status. Chapter 43-44. How could this be? Lin Yunqing only felt that her view of the family had suddenly changed. She had thought that the family was peaceful, but she realized that there were hidden waves surging. The other party may have been hiding in the family for many years. If we hadn't been looking for Bewitching this time, we might not have been able to find out. You mustn't tell anyone about this. Do you understand? Diu Jue stared at Lin Yunqing with a sense of worry in the depths of his deep eyes. The other party had planted a mole deep within their family, so it was clear that the other party's background was not small. Although they had a large family business and a stable foundation, they had many opponents. Once the other party carried out any plans, they would have to deal with it carefully. Before he could confirm the identity of the mole, he must not let this information leak out because he was worried that Lin Yunqing would be in danger. I understand. Lin Yunqing nodded, but her heart grew even more worried. The other party is doing everything possible to prevent us from finding Bewitching. Could it be that they want to harm Bewitching? In that case, they will definitely find Bewitching before we do. If they were to attack Bewitching, Bewitching would definitely not be a match for them. Lin Yunqing's eyes immediately turned red. She could not accept that something had happened to Bewitching. In the past, she had always felt that something had happened to Bewitching. Ever since she found out that Bewitching was still alive and had grown up well, she felt as if she had ascended to heaven and was incomparably happy. If something were to happen to Bewitching at this time, she would fall into hell once again. This was something that she absolutely could not bear. Lin Yunqing hurriedly rose to her feet. We must find Bewitching as soon as possible. Yunqing, calm down first. Diu Jue held Lin Yunqing's hand. I've already sped up the investigation. I've also sent a message back to the family. Believe me, I will definitely find Bewitching safely, but now the situation has become a lot more complicated. The other party is in the dark, and we are in the light, so we must be more careful. Lin Yunqing's eyes reddened as tears rolled down her cheeks. I really don't understand why they want to stop me from reuniting with Bewitching. I just want to see my son. What's the problem? Looking at Lin Yunqing's fragile appearance, Diu Jue hurriedly pulled Lin Yunqing into his arms and said with heartache, Yunqing, I'm sorry for making you suffer so much pain. I made a mistake in the past and caused you to lose contact with your beloved son. But this time, believe me, I won't let them succeed, okay? Lin Yunqing bit her lip and nodded. I believe you. All right. In the secret chamber, a middle-aged man was sitting in the room. The dim light shone on his body, making his face look sinister and cold. How is it? Did you manage to stop them? I've already sent people to spread the news to confuse them. Now, they've stopped moving. It's obvious that they can't tell which news is true at the moment. Very good. The middle-aged man smiled with satisfaction. I never thought that this kid would be so lucky. He has the cursed body, yet he's still alive after so many years. However, I won't give him the chance to return to the D family. Listen up, you must find him before the D family does. Kill him to silence him and prevent any future troubles. Chapter 43-45. Lower Realm. Bewitching and the rest have already been in the upper realm for a few days. I wonder how they are doing in the upper realm. Did they reunite with their father? Shangguan Yingying's eyes flashed with a complicated and expectant light. Originally, she felt a little disappointed because she was separated from Bewitching and the rest. However, when she thought about how Bewitching was able to reunite with his family in the upper realm, she felt happy for Bewitching from the bottom of her heart. Uncle and the rest should have a huge influence in the upper realm. I think it shouldn't be a problem to find Bewitching. Xiren's face was filled with a warm smile. You don't have to worry about them. D family. Just from Lord Long and the rest's expression, you can tell how powerful this family is. The most important thing for us now is to increase our cultivation speed and break through to the Star Radiance realm as soon as possible. This way, we will be able to meet up with Bewitching and Hong Zhuang at the D family. Shangguan Yingying nodded. I didn't expect there to be a upper realm. Just thinking about it makes me excited. I just received a letter from Tiangang sect. It's addressed to Bewitching. However, they aren't here right now, so I opened it to take a look. It shouldn't be a problem, right? Bewitching never hid anything from us. Moreover, Sect Head Situ also watched us grow up. It shouldn't be a problem. Xiren comforted. What's written on it? It's about Beichen's background. Previously, Uncle D went to Tiangang sect and found out about Beichen's true identity. Sect Head Situ wrote this letter to let Bewitching understand everything. However, I don't think it's necessary now. By the time we go up, Bewitching would have already become the D family's young master. That's true. Xiren couldn't help but chuckle. When I first met Bewitching, I felt that he couldn't be an abandoned orphan. Think about it, his looks are so demonic and his strength is so abnormal. Who would abandon such a child? Now it seems that he is indeed a young master. I'm afraid it will take some time for Sect Master Situ and the others to receive the letter we sent back. The distance between here and the outside world is simply too far. I hope Sect Master Situ and the others won't be worried. Don't worry, it's fine. Xiren was very indifferent. Although one upper realm and the other lower realm are very far apart, Bewitching can come down and find us at any time. Who knows? Bewitching and Hongzhuang might have already returned to see us before we even break through to the Star Radiance realm. Now that I think about it, if that's really the case, it would be a little embarrassing. Shangguan Yingying shrugged. We still have to seize the time to cultivate and improve our cultivation as soon as possible. That's right. A scholar who has been away for 3 days must be looked at with new eyes. We can't be too weak. Having said that, Xiren and Shangguan Yingying couldn't help but look at each other. Then, the two of them immediately began cultivating. What happened last time was still fresh in their minds. If it wasn't because they weren't strong enough, Bewitching and Hongzhuang wouldn't have been forced to enter the upper realm. What happened in the past couldn't be changed. They could only hope that such a thing wouldn't happen again. After a short period of depression, Xiaobai had already recovered and accepted the fact that he had already become Bewitching's contracted beast. Chapter 43-46. Master, Xiao He and Xiaobai have already awakened their attributes. When can I awaken my attributes? Ever since he found out that Xiao He and Xiaobai's attributes had awakened on their own, White Lion had been very envious. Unfortunately, he could not awaken his attributes directly like Xiao He and Xiaobai. He would probably need a device to awaken his attributes. Bailey Hongzhuang turned and saw White Lion's expectant look. Her lips immediately curled into a faint smile. She reached out and rubbed White Lion's soft head. You've already broken through to the Starlight Realm. You can indeed awaken your attributes. I'll ask Steward Wu later if he can borrow the device to help you awaken your attributes. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, White Lion's eyes lit up. Thank you, Master. What's there to thank me for? Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. This is what I should do. White Lion chuckled. Its expression was filled with excitement and anticipation. It did not know what kind of attributes it would awaken. White Lion is a beast king. I wonder what kind of attributes it will awaken. Just thinking about it makes me very excited. Bailey Hongzhuang tapped her chin with her index finger. A glimmer of anticipation appeared in her clear black and white eyes. She was really looking forward to White Lion's attributes awakening. Thinking about it, once White Lion's attributes awakened, it would definitely become even more powerful. Indeed, I wonder what White Lion's attributes are. Bewitching looked at White Lion's muscular body. Its fur is also white. Perhaps its attributes are also light. That I don't know. Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. However, if that's really the case, it's pretty good. My contracted beast and I actually have the same attributes. If word gets out, I'm afraid everyone will find it very magical. Wife, after awakening our attributes, we'll have to cultivate our attributes. I heard that every attribute has its own guild. Among them, your light attribute has the highest status. It's called the Slight Light Sacred Guild. I'm afraid you'll have to join it. Bewitching had a warm and gentle smile on his face. The upper realm had existed for so many years, and many things were perfect. It was very easy to find the organization. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. Every attribute? Does that mean there are also dark guilds in your darkness-type guild? That's not it. Bewitching shook his head. You know how much the upper realm dislikes dark energy. Normally, dark energy practitioners don't even dare to admit their attributes. If it weren't for my talent being maxed out, I'm afraid my position in the Raging Flames sect would be very low as well. Hence, there is no dark guild in the upper realm. Ah! Bailey Hongzhuang's expression changed slightly. It has all the attributes except for this one. This is too biased. Wife, since the upper realm doesn't have it, it doesn't mean we can't create one. Who knows, maybe I'll create a dark guild in the future. Bewitching's face was filled with confidence and a charming luster. I promised Master that I'll change everyone's view of dark energy. I'll let dark energy practitioners no longer have to bear the strange gazes of others. This dark guild might be one of the most important steps. That's right. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded heavily. Her pitch-black bright eyes rippled with a bright light. I believe in you. You'll definitely be able to do it. Although this plan may be crazy in the eyes of others, Bailey Hongzhuang did not think that it was unattainable. Everything depends on effort. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.